Today, Alabama reported its first coronavirus case, and President Trump declared a national state of emergency as we all began to realize just how serious this new virus would be. And a lot has changed in a year, and things are starting to look up when it comes to the pandemic. Our Nixon Norman tells us more about some of the good and bad we've seen.
It's been one whole year since COVID-19 has changed the world, and we've seen some of those changes here in the Valley. We take a look back through the good and the bad.
The good outcome out of this is how much science can contribute and can contribute quickly to management, especially the vaccination, because it's unheard of getting a vaccine within a year. But because we have a backup of information before, and because of the advanced technology, the United States have, it definitely proven we can get to do things.
Alongside proving the advancement of science and technology, living through a pandemic taught us to be more prepared for anything. On the other hand, there was bad as well. Over 500,000 people in the U.S. lost their lives to COVID-19.
Patient dying and you don't have control of what to do because there's no treatment in the beginning available. Outbreaks happening. Healthcare worker getting under stress, where you see between nurses and others is feeling really not just frustrated, but hopeless in a way.
But it seems that hopelessness may be slowly turning into hope as things start to look up. Putting the Valley first, Nixon Norman, WZDX News.